The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Welcome to Moments of Strength. I'm your host, Mary Kaufman. In this show, we celebrate the incredible resilience of mothers, showing up through life's challenges, growing through every triumph, and carving out space for their own passions and identity. We're here to uplift and reassure every mom that you are not alone and that asking for help is a powerful strength. Each episode brings a story of motherhood's beautiful chaos. I'm happy you can join us for today's inspiring journey. And today's guest is Cathy. Cathy, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in. It's a little chaotic at the beginning there. We got it all settled in, so that's good. So thank you for coming. Just to give you an idea of how the show goes, and for those that haven't seen it before, really the aim of the show is to uplift the people that are watching and encourage them and reassure them that the motherhood journey, while difficult,
Yes.
is worth it, and they can learn, through stories of life experiences of other mothers. And so, just wanted to provide a platform where moms can come on and tell their journey to and through motherhood. Okay. So, thank you for coming on. You and I actually have been sort of on the periphery of each other's lives. As our kids grew up, we have daughters that are same age,
Yes.
and they were actually in dance together.
Yes, they were.
And through a community program, and then played basketball for a season together. So I did see, a little while ago, you had posted about actually part of your motherhood journey. And I thought that was just so interesting and could provide some story and experience for people to learn from. So yay.
Yay.
Okay. So if you can tell us just a little bit about yourself, maybe start in the beginning, however much you want to tell, so we can follow your journey.
I'm originally actually from California.
Okay.
So I was born and raised there. Went to college there, went to Santa Clara University. I worked there for a few years. And then my ex-husband is from Sun Prairie. So we moved here in 2003.
Okay.
So I've been here since 2003.
So that, I actually was born in California too.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was just there for a short time.
Oh, yeah. No, I was there for like 26 years of my life.
Yeah. So Wisconsin's very different.
It's very, very different than where I grew up.
Yeah. And you still have family out in California?
I do not.
Oh, no. So you're really
My parents live here now in Wisconsin. Yeah.
The whole crew.
The whole crew is here. So, yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, were you involved in sports, or what was that like? Do you have siblings?
I do have a sister. We are not super close. So, but yeah, I played all the sports. I was in volleyball, basketball for a little while, but I got a little too short to play basketball after a while. Yeah. But I did play varsity soccer in high school, and I played badminton. So
nice.
And field hockey.
Yeah, field hockey.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. So I played soccer too, loved it. And so then, you come here to Wisconsin. Yes. Oh, you went to college out there too?
Yes.
And did what you studied in college have to do with what you ended up doing later in life, or?
Well, I started with the idea that I was going to go to law school. So I got my first degree is in political science, thinking I'm going to law school. I wound up not going to law school, and I wound up getting a master's in education administration instead. And so I worked at Santa Clara University as a residence hall director for like 4 years.
Yeah.
So I needed that master's degree in order to have the residence hall director job. So I was on kind of a path to be like a dean of students or something along those lines at the university level.
So you wanted to maybe go into law originally, and I just ask these questions because, all of us find ourselves in these positions where we have to make this decision, or we thought we wanted something and then something else presented itself that seemed more attractive. Was there something that sort of drew you to that and away from law, or?
I was terrified of law school.
Oh, well,
and the
that's
debt. Going into law school, that was a lot of money at the time. And so a lot of student loan debt would have been there. And I was afraid, like, what if I do this and I hate it?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of scary. And I had this job on campus working in residence life. And I was like, this is actually really cool. And I really like this. And I get to work with students and do that kind of thing. And so it kind of shifted my focus into, hey, maybe I do this instead because I actually really enjoy this. And this is fun. So I feel good about it.
Yeah. So that's so important too, because we don't always, but a lot of times we think we know or we have an idea.
Correct.
And you don't really know because there's so many options. And so, paying attention to the things that show up in your life that feel right or maybe connect to who you are sort of authentically. Yeah. It sounds like that's
exactly. And I worked with some really great people that were really great, like role models. So it was kind of like, this is, I think, the right direction for me to go right now. So.
Okay, so get through college and worked there. And then shortly after that, you moved here, or?
I worked at the university for like 4 years after I got my master's. So.
Oh, after, okay.
Yeah, and then we moved here. So.
And how?
It was a lot. We drove across the country. It was me and my husband at the time and a dog.
Okay. So. Yes. Well.
Yeah, and then we moved in with my parents. Yeah, it was a good time. Not really, but it was.
Well,
it was
these
what it
are
was.
the struggles we go through, while we're trying to figure things out,
right?
And so, were you here? Did you work here then when you got here, or?
Not right away. So I had the opportunity to potentially work at UW-Madison. The problem was I did have this dog, and they would not allow me to have the dog in my apartment on campus. And so it was kind of like, dog, job.
Right.
And I was like, I can't get rid of my dog.
I know.
Like, I just couldn't do it. So I had to turn down that job and kind of reshift my entire focus. And I wound up managing a coffee shop for like 7.5 years in Madison. So until they went out of business. So.
Yeah. Well, coffee shop in Madison is fun.
Victor Allen's was really fun.
Yeah.
So when it existed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It was
I mean,
cool.
The clientele is so diverse. And
oh my gosh, it was crazy. The people we would see on a daily basis and like crazy drinks we'd get through the drive-through. Like, you want a banana latte? Okay. All right. I will make you a banana latte. That sounds disgusting, but I will make you one.
Yeah. My daughter just started training as a barista, and she was describing someone came through the drive-through and wanted like extra caramel in their caramel latte, like 7 pumps or something. She's getting a very new perspective on, morning drinks.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time doing it. So.
Yeah. And people enjoy that, and that's a highlight of their day, so that's good.
Right.
And so managing the staff there, that all was fun. And
it was fun. It was similar because they were similar age to the college students I was used to working with, so that kind of transitioned really well. So that was kind of a natural flow for me. So
yeah, that's good. Okay, and so was it during that time that you were managing that you how does motherhood show up here in your
well, that was part of the reason
journey.
We left California is that where my career was going, I was going to have to move off campus, and so paying rent in California in the Silicon Valley would have been even back in, this is dating myself, but the late 1990s was very expensive. And we were only been married a few years at that point. So we're like, all of our family's in Wisconsin at this point. Like my parents had already moved to Wisconsin at that point. So we're like, if we're going to have a family, we need to be where family is. Yeah. And so we left, and it was definitely more affordable to live here. So, so early 2000s is kind of when the idea of motherhood kind of like, okay, maybe now it's time to start having a family. We moved to Wisconsin. We're getting established. We lived in an apartment for a year, and then we bought a house, and it's like, okay, let's go for it. Let's try to have
next step.
Try to have kids. So see what happens. So.
Yeah. So I've had a number of women on the show, and that kind of desire to be near family.
Yes.
So there have been several guests who, base their desire to have a family around where their immediate family and extended family are too.
Right.
And that doesn't work for everybody. Everybody moves
exactly.
around, but if that works for you, that's nice to have that.
It is. And both sets of grandparents live pretty close to each other. I mean, both sets of grandparents are still married. So it was great.
Yeah, that is a lot of support.
It is. It was a lot of support. It was great.
Okay, so first child shows up. When?
10 years later.
Okay, so it's a long journey to motherhood.
It was a very, very long journey to motherhood. So
it's important because a lot of people, there are so many ways.
Right, and we're pretty sure we tried almost every way. So we tried naturally to have a child. That did not happen. That was a 6-year process.
Yeah.
That was very, very long and very, very exhausting. But it got to a point where we're like, okay, we either do IVF or we move on to the next step.
Right.
So we chose adoption.
Okay, yeah.
But that is also a very long and complicated process. So we started with domestic adoption. It was our focus.
Yes.
But again, that comes with a lot of stuff with it. And that took a very long time. And like, we had people showing up at our house doing deep dives into our personal lives, our family lives, like how do we talk to each other, like opening our kitchen cabinets to make sure we didn't have plastic bags like under our cabinets. Like we had to become licensed foster parents first.
Okay. This is interesting because I really, I haven't heard the story, like intricate kind of step-by-step process.
It was a long process for us, like, because we had to take these classes. It was a lot. You get really up close and personal, and it's like almost like your adoption counselor becomes a member of your family. Like we
very involved.
She was very, thankfully she was a fantastic lady and we loved her. But it was just a lot because she was in every aspect of our life from day one until it was over. So
yeah, that's so interesting, especially when, if somebody can have a baby, they can have a baby. Nobody checks on that, until there's an issue.
Correct. Until something comes up. But it's like, in order for us to adopt a child who needed a home, we're like, oh, we're under scrutiny here.
Yeah, there's some incongruence there. And I mean, I wouldn't say don't investigate people that want, of course, you want a baby to go into a welcoming, safe, healthy home. But
right. But what they don't tell you is like the process for domestic adoption, it's very different depending on the type of child. And we were very open. Like we didn't have any limits as to what type of child, for the most part, that we were going to open our home to. So that made it a slightly easier. But some of the stories that we encountered along the way, I mean, we had a birth mother that was interested in us. Like she saw our file and she wanted us to adopt her child. But it got to the point where she was demanding that she got to name the baby. She and her boyfriend at the time would take the child every weekend and like go to the zoo and like go do fun things and then drop the baby back off with us. And we got to a point where we're like, this is not, like, we're okay with communication and we're okay with like that, but like, then we sort of felt like we were going to just be glorified babysitters.
It kind of sounds like that was, maybe she really wasn't ready for.
I don't think she was ready to make that decision. And so we had to walk away from that. So we were like, we can't do that.
And I have, heard stories where it's like you're so ready and then, the mom changes her mind or.
Been there too.
Yeah. And that's hard. Because it's hard to get excited and then have that sort of iffiness, that's coming. So that was a long road for you too, the domestic side of it.
Yeah, it was, and it was full of lots of ups and downs and very challenging times. So yeah. But.
So at that point, did it just become like, we want to go other routes as well? Or how did that come about?
Yeah. That, we actually had twins in our house.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, for 8 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And there's a certain amount of time that
they have to like go through a legal process. Like at the time that they came with us, mom was totally okay with it. She had already had another child and she could not take care of these twins. Dad was in jail at the time. And we were told anyway that he didn't want anything to do with these kids at all. Well, they have to go through a process and they have to publish it in the paper and it has to be like public notice that these children are being placed for adoption. Well, Dad found out, Dad challenged dad wound up with the kid.
Oh my goodness. How old were they, can I ask? Were they like, they weren't baby?
They were
babies?
babies?
Oh my gosh.
They were only about 3 months old when we had to turn them over to the social worker.
Oh my gosh. That's hard. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now and how long ago? That was early 2000s then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That was early 2000s, and I was like, "That's it, I'm done. I can't do this anymore." Like,
well, it's such a roller coaster.
Yeah, it was just like I couldn't do the ups and downs and like the chaos anymore. So.
Okay, so then
the research begins. Like, what do we do now? Like, we're still wanting to be parents at this point in time, at least. So we're talking to our lovely adoption counselor again. We're like, what are our options? What do we do now? Where do we go? What do we look for? What country do we look at? Like, there's so many different options. And so we started researching various countries in terms of what children were available for adoption. Were we comfortable with, the situation? Were we comfortable with the country? And she kept kind of like, I wouldn't say she was pushing us towards Ethiopia, but she's like, no, I really think you should take a look at this. Like, really just take a look at it.
Sure.
And so we started taking a look at it, and we're like, all right, this sounds like this could be a good fit. And they partnered us with an agency in Minnesota.
Okay.
And we talked with some people there, and we're like, okay, I think we can do this. Like, I think we can go forward. I think we got excited about going to Ethiopia. So we're like, all right, let's go. So we did it. So we redid our entire home study to plan for a child from Ethiopia now.
And also, like, can I ask, like, what do you have to adjust? What's different about
because now we were adopting a child of a different race. And so we had to make sure that being, Caucasian parents, we were able to provide the resources necessary for a child that was going to be African American at this point.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the process is to, like, are you taking a trip there to bring a baby home? Or are you taking a trip there to check it out? Okay.
We submitted all of our paperwork, and then we just sat and we waited. And we waited for 11. They told us it would be about a 6-month wait.
Okay.
I think we waited. I have it written down somewhere, but I think it was 11 months, 3 days, and like 12 hours. Okay. Like, I have it down to the hours to how long I was waiting for my phone to ring. So then they called and they said, hey, here's this thing. And I'm going to cry.
You're so sorry. But the story is so important and good.
So the phone rang, and it was like I was just cleaning the office. I was like messing around at home, and it was like all staticky, like crazy static. I couldn't understand what was going on. I'm like running downstairs to try to grab the other phone and like trying to write stuff down. And I was like, I don't even know what's going on. But yep, sure enough, there was a little girl.
Yay. Yeah. So is this like you get the call? First of all, is this still landlines?
Yeah, it was still landlines. I was like upstairs, and we had a 2-story house. I had to run downstairs to the living room to grab the other phone because I was like, what's going on?
Because it was so staticky. Yeah. Okay, so then you have to be ready, like, to get your ticket and go,
it still takes
happens?
time. So they matched us with her. We said yes. Like, we sent her file off to an international adoption doctor kind of thing, just to kind of review her medical history.
Sure.
And everything came back A-okay. So we're like, okay, we're going to proceed with this. But then it had to go to court in Ethiopia for a judge to sign off and say, hey, yes, you can go ahead and adopt this baby. So we got matched with her in January. The judge approved us in April of that year. And then in early May, we were going on a 23-hour flight to Ethiopia.
So between January and April,
we just wait.
It's like
we get updates in email, and sometimes we wouldn't even get pictures. We didn't even really get pictures with her until we were approved by the court in Ethiopia. So
that
we got the initial
sense,
picture when we were matched with her, then nothing other than she's doing fine. Like, great, but what does she look like? I want to see the pictures. Then the judge signed off on it and said yes, and then we got a whole bunch of pictures and a whole bunch more information, and then we just had to wait another month until we could go and bring her home.
Sure. So. And is that and we've talked about, like, your story versus, we try not to tell the child's story necessarily. So if I ask questions and you just want to pass that, that's fine. I'll try to be considerate of that. But so during that time, and again, we're talking early 2000s, so it's been
it was
a while.
2008. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So systems may have
For
changed.
2009, I guess.
Things might be different. But is this like a process where it's like they have a system where if somebody, is going to give up their baby, you know what I mean? And then they go, is there like, they're not like a orphanage, you know what I mean?
She was in a care center.
Okay, and then they take care of the baby, and then the baby
she had a
comes
bunch of nannies that were
Gotcha.
there, and they took care of her and the other kids that were there.
Yeah.
So
I was just trying to get the visual of like this
I
whole
mean
path.
they call it a care center. I mean, I think for us it orphanage
kind of similar
experience, but they had all these wonderful ladies there that would dote on all the little babies. And hug them and squeeze them and snuggle them and everything else. So it was,
that's good.
It was a great place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A little one.
And important to share that, because we don't know who's on what journey here. So
exactly. Yeah. No, it was totally. I mean, again, like you said, this was 2009, so you're actually no longer allowed to adopt from me.
Oh yeah.
So
you got in under the wire.
Before it got a little chaotic. So
okay, so you go there in May, and you want to talk about get off the plane? I mean, are you going straight there? Like you get off the plane and go
by
there?
the time we got there, it was like 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
You lose. I don't remember which way the time goes. I always get confused about that kind of, but it was like literally a whole day. Like I think we left the United States on a Wednesday, but we didn't get into Ethiopia till Thursday night or something like that. So that first night, they just got us all off the plane. There was 8 families that were getting on this bus at the airport that were all staying at the same kind of it was kind of like a bed and breakfast type place. Is the best way to put it. And so they shuttled us all over there, and then we're like, okay, you're going to sleep here. And we're like, all right, but when?
When you're like, I'm not actually going to sleep.
No, so we're not actually not going to sleep. And going to a developing country like that, there's just certain things we weren't prepared for. Sometimes the electricity goes out.
Oh, sure.
And sometimes if the electricity goes out, there's no running water. So if you need to flush a toilet, you need to go outside, get a bucket of water, and bring it back in. So it's just kind of those little adjustments where we have no electricity, we have no internet, we can't communicate with anyone. It was not like you could pick up a phone and call someone or hop on a computer and send an email. That was not the reality. So there were periods of time throughout the day where we'd have zero electricity. So we're going to try to figure this out. But they took care of us, and they fed us, and they brought us to where we needed to be. And it was Friday when we got to meet her for the first time. We didn't get to bring her with us, though. She still had to stay.
Okay.
So we got to go spend some time with her, but we had to leave her there.
Yeah.
And then we had to go back to the care center or to our little guest house. And then we had to wait for the next day. And we had to go to the embassy. And that was once we got through the embassy in Addis Ababa, that's when we got to keep her with us.
Okay.
But that took a couple of days. So
when you saw her, you were like, yay.
Yeah, she was like this little peanut. I mean, she was not even, she was about 5.5 months old, and I think she weighed about 12 pounds at the time. Oh my gosh. So she was this tiny little pumpkin. Yeah, a tiny little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great.
She was it's so I mean, she's 16 now, but she's still this little.
I'll pick you up like this still.
Yeah, she was as light as could be. My dogs weighed more than she did.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get to keep her. And the embassy is getting a passport?
Yeah, we had to get her passport and travel documents and stuff in line so that she could enter into the United States. So.
And then you came back, and then your mom.
And then I was a mom.
There you have it.
Holy heck.
Yeah, a long journey.
It was a long journey, yes.
Yeah. But worth all of it.
Oh, and she was a great baby, so it made it even better.
Yeah.
She was super easy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then,
so
you get settled and everything.
Yes.
And are you, I forgot to ask, were you working at the time?
I was still working.
Okay.
At the coffee shop at the time. My boss was fantastic, so she gave me 14 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
She let me stock my vacation up, and then she let me take as much time as I wanted. So it wound up being about 14 and a half weeks once we came back home. And
that's so great.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Did you take her into the coffee shop? And
oh, I did.
Yeah,
of
and
course.
everybody
loved her. I would bring her everywhere with me. I would get my nails done, and she would come with me. So the girl that did my nails watched her grow up. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. A whole community.
Yeah, because she was long awaited for, so everybody knew. They were like,
everybody knows the story.
Right, exactly. They're like, where is she? We want to see her. So
that's so awesome.
Yeah,
and a good welcoming for her too.
Yeah, and she was. I mean, she loved people and was super cute and adorable. So
yeah, so that all worked.
That all worked.
Okay, so then what is because then Katie
came after that, and that was a 3-year process.
Oh, 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
We originally set out to adopt a little boy from Ethiopia, again, figuring that kind of made sense. Yeah, we were used to the process. Kids from the same country that could be helpful, like down the road. International adoption is tricky, and there's some unethical things that started happening kind of in those early 2000s range. So we just started getting a little uncomfortable with the adoption process in Ethiopia, and we were hearing some stories of some unethical stuff that was going on, and we just didn't really feel comfortable moving forward. So we talked to our social worker, and we said, what now? Because we would still like to have more than one child.
Sure, yeah.
And so she's like, well, you were looking to adopt a boy. And we're like, yeah, we thought we'd have a boy and a girl. And she's like, we really need families to adopt boys from South Korea.
Okay.
And we're like, oh, like that was never even like on our radar. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. So we started doing research on South Korea, and we're like, okay, like, all right. And if they need families for boys, and we were saying we were open to adopting a boy.
Right.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
So we switched all of our paperwork to get approved again for Korea. So we're like, okay. So that took a little bit of time to update our paperwork for that. We had to get actually special permission from Korea to be able to adopt because we had a child that was born in Africa. And yeah, so that was a lot.
Interesting.
There's just, for whatever reason, they wanted to make sure that everything was on the up and up. And I mean, there were some racial factors in there and everything else. So, but they approved. So we're like, okay. So we sat there, and they said it would probably be 2 to 3 months before we would get matched with a boy. 3 months later, I get a call about a little girl. I was like, what? Like they told us it was like 97% likely or more that we would be matched with a boy. Yes. And I'm like, okay, but they called us about this little girl.
3%.
The 3% chance, because for whatever, we originally thought our home study was written that we only were going to be open to adopting a boy. Okay. But somehow the wording was a boy or a girl.
Okay.
And I guess it just happened as such that there were a number of families that said no to Katie.
Yeah.
So they called us.
Yes.
Yeah. So there we are.
And now
I have another girl that I was not expecting. She was a happy surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you had to go to South Korea.
Had to go to South Korea.
And the timing between that 3 months and
it was almost 14 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when we found out about Katie, she was about 4 months old.
Okay.
And so about 13 and a half or so months later was when we finally got to meet her. So she was a full-fledged walking, running toddler. I mean, she was almost a year and a half old, like didn't know.
Ready to go,
didn't know any English at all, and just ready to move. Like she never stopped moving.
Has she yet?
No.
Okay.
No, she's not.
That's what I thought. I've seen her.
Yeah. Nope, she's not.
Okay, so now, and wait, how old is your first daughter now?
They're just under 2.5 years apart.
Okay.
So she was when we went to go get Katie, she was going to her 3-year-old preschool program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was about to turn 4.
Okay. And so now there's a lot of dynamics here because she's almost a year and a half, you said.
Yeah.
And then now she has a sister and she doesn't, well, she's little, so she doesn't speak English, but she also probably understands little.
Very, very little.
Yeah.
Her main method of communication was screaming.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a very rough.
Yeah.
Her transition home was not easy at all. So it was tough.
And that's a long flight.
It was a 14.5-hour direct flight from Seoul to Chicago. So we didn't get off the plane and walk around. Like I was walking around holding her on the plane.
Oh.
Yeah. And at that point, she decided she was going on a hunger strike. So she was only eating bread.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That was all she would eat was bread. Yeah.
How much bread is on a plane?
Correct. I mean, well, luckily when you fly internationally, they provide you with like full meals and that kind of stuff. But yeah, she was not a happy child on that flight at all. It was a very long flight home.
Listen, these are the things that we do. I mean, all of these are just amazing examples at your expense of just what we do as moms.
Right. It's like I had no choice. She didn't want to sit still. She was too big to fit in like the little bassinets they provide you on planes. So I'm like, well, let's walk. But she didn't walk on her own. She wanted me to carry her. So
yes.
Like, okay, Velcro baby.
Yeah.
But not Velcro toddler.
Actually, you're big.
You're big. You're not little.
And then these are the things also that, not just that we do, but that like feels like we're the only one doing that. Right. And I mean, your story is extraordinary, and a small percentage of people do something like that. But in that same vein, we've all been in those moments where it's like, okay, we know like this is probably temporary, but we can't remember that because 14 hours is a long time.
It's a long time with a very unhappy toddler.
Yeah, and I mean, you're in the air.
And we're in the air. You can't put her down. Like
limited
she would start
options.
Screaming. So my options were put her down and she screams, or I hold her for 14 hours. So
yeah, that song.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a different experience.
Very, very different experience from adopting basically the size of a newborn to a full-fledged toddler. So.
And so you get home, and how's that? I'm sure it's like a chaotic whirlwind. Like even when you remember it, it's like you have to get everything organized.
Chaos. It was chaotic. It was very chaotic. And she really only liked 3 people. She liked me, but I think thank goodness. I think, but I think I was probably down on the list. Yeah, like I was probably number 3. Like she immediately had a connection with her grandfather. Like immediately.
Interesting.
Yes. Like I think it's because her foster parents, because she was in foster care in Korea, were older. And so he had her grandfather had whitish hair at the time, and I think her foster father did as well. Okay. And so I don't know if maybe that somehow clicked in her brain, like, hey,
familiarity.
Looks familiar. And she loved her sister.
Thank goodness.
Yes. Thank goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she would follow her around the house, and she couldn't say Kia, so she would say Ia all the time. She'd do Ia, Ia, Ia.
And what did Kia think?
Oh, she fine at first, and then it got started
like a novelty.
Yeah, it's like okay, this was fun for a little while. Now you go away. Like now you're annoying.
And she's like, no, I cannot.
I cannot. I'm just gonna keep following you. So yeah, but that was it. So that made it harder, is that it was just. And at that point, I was no longer working. I had quit my job knowing that bringing home a toddler, she was going to need me
for sure to
stay home. And reality was I wasn't making enough money at that point to put 2 kids in daycare full time. Like this doesn't make any sense.
No,
like,
you would just hand your check.
That's exactly it. And I'm like, and she doesn't need to be in that situation right now.
It's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot. Like so I needed to be home with her, and that was the right decision for the family at the time. I did flip the script on that a little bit though after about 9 months of her being home, and she still was very like she didn't like people very much, and she was very, very shy. Still wasn't talking a whole lot, and here we are, 2.5 years old, and it's like we need to think about some social skills and getting socialized. So I did wind up putting her in daycare for a little while, I needed a break.
Definitely.
Like I was like, you're glued to me all day long. I was like, it's a lot. Like it was exhausting, and it wasn't really necessarily great for my mental health at the time either, because I'm like, I'm not functioning well, and I have now got the 2 of you that I need to take care of, and it's just a lot. So I'm like, you need to go spend some time with some other adults and some other kids your age, your size, who are going through some of the same things that you're going through.
Right.
So
yeah. And they're in the mental space to do it because they're showing up for work and I'm not saying it's not harrowing and difficult.
Oh, for sure. And they're wonderful people.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful to them because they got her through some, like she didn't like getting messy. She didn't like finger paint, all that kind of stuff. And they helped with some of that tactile stuff. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Well, that's how we have to lean on each other. And
right. Exactly. It's like,
other people, you need help. Yeah.
Right.
And so often we don't seek that out because, we're the mom, like we're supposed to do it.
Right.
And we aren't even thinking that, I don't think, consciously most of the time.
You just do. You just
do what you need to do.
Literally just do, because there's no other options. Like, well, if I don't do it, what's going to happen? Nothing.
Yes.
Somebody's got to do it.
And it's so immediate.
Right.
It was like an instant. Upset. Yeah. It's like you immediately react. We don't really take time to sit down and go like, okay, well, if she then or I'll ask. No, it's just like
it's
right
like,
now.
Okay, we got to go. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. So, okay. So then did she I guess I mean, she was so little, but how did that work out? Like, did she like being around other kids, or did that
Not at first.
Yeah.
Her like drop-offs were rough. So, but after a few weeks, she kind of was like, got into the swing of things. And, once she started talking, she hasn't stopped talking.
Yeah, she's talking
it took her. She probably is. It took her a little while to start putting like complete thoughts together. But now it's like,
yay.
Yeah, we joke. We're like, remember when you never talked? Yeah. Sometimes that would be nice.
Short-lived.
Yeah, it was short-lived.
Yeah. So that's great. I ask that because sometimes when kids get around other kids, that's fun for them. Yeah. They're there. Hi. They're not telling what to do. Most of the time.
And with her, it was hard because she had these weird like idiosyncrasies. Like I would take the kids to the park, and you would think, oh, kids park, fun, but she didn't know what to do with like uneven surfaces or grass or like the wood chips or rubber chips at the playground, because everything in Korea is very like cement and very flat.
Okay.
So she never probably had really been on grass.
Makes sense.
So it was like,
be apprehensive.
When you saw her, she's like, I don't know what this is. Like, this is new.
Yeah.
So she would just freeze. And she would just stop, and you'd like, are you like, I don't know if you're okay. Are you going to cry? And she'd just kind of look around because she didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. I remember Bailey, who is Katie's age, when she was like very little but could sit up on her own, and I would sit her in the grass, and she'd immediately do like a V-sit because she didn't like her legs
touching the grass.
And I was like, that's amazing. This baby has like abs of steel.
It's like,
she
what
could
is
just
going
like
on?
sit like that. Yeah, so that foreign kind of
it was
feeling.
like a completely foreign thing. She's like, I didn't know what to do. And so part of me felt sad because I was like, oh, you probably didn't go outside a lot. But then I was like, okay, but now you can. So now we got to figure this out.
But we're here now.
But now we're here. So let's figure it out.
So that's good. Yay. Okay, so that is a long and arduous journey.
Yeah, it was a 10-year process probably from beginning to when Katie came home. So, which is a long time.
Yeah, and it really begs so many questions, like how it's difficult here, to adopt a child here.
Very difficult.
And everybody has different experiences with that, and, not to generalize, but difficult process. And then, doing international adoption while still difficult could even be measured as easier than what happens here. And so
it's very complicated. It's very confusing. Definitely like puts tests on relationships and
for sure.
else.
Well, parenting already.
Yes, parenting already does that. But you add in all these other factors, and
it just wear you out. Yeah. I mean, those are extreme circumstances too.
Right.
And also when you have a life with somebody, your life with that person with no kids is one thing.
Yeah.
And to be able to grow successfully into,
right,
even with no like real tumultuous journey into that is difficult. And so, that'd put a strain on anybody. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Okay, so, and all of this was here in Sun Prairie.
All of it happened here in Sun Prairie.
For some reason, I was like imagining that was, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it all happened
undefined.
Here. Yeah.
And so they've grown up here, and
they've grown up here.
Been a good experience.
And I mean, they love it. Like they've gone to school here. I can't imagine at this point now. They're both in high school.
Yeah, I know. We've just taken the leap.
I know.
Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both. So, is your oldest senior now, or
junior?
Okay.
Yep.
So junior and freshman.
Junior and freshman, and I have a stepson who's a senior, who will be a senior.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's right, because then.
Yay.
And you can gloss over. You don't even have to talk about that.
No.
But it's not the same family it was.
It's not the same family it was. No, it's definitely not. So after about 20 years of being married, it was time for that relationship to end and for things to move on.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And so now you're remarried.
I am now remarried.
And your current husband already had kids as well.
Yes, he had 4 children at the time. So 2 of them when we met were full-fledged adults.
Okay,
so
yes.
That was,
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, that was fantastic. He has one son that lives out in California.
Okay.
Don't see him super often.
Sure.
And then his youngest is about 8 months older than Kia.
Okay.
So we have a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old at home.
And your boy.
And a boy.
You got the boy.
And I don't know how to parent boys, much less teenage boys. Like girls, I understand.
Yeah.
Boys, I was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a little bit different.
okay. It's a little different.
Yeah. It is different. We should, again, without generalizing, but it's, I don't know, girls are feels like more emotional, and boys, it's more moving, at least in my experience.
Yeah, we've had a lot of both. So, yeah.
But I guess, Katie was always moving. So.
She's always moving, always moving.
So that's a new dynamic too then for the
Yes.
girls to have brothers and
Yep, they have older siblings. So like Kia went from being the oldest to now one of the middle children. Like Katie's always been the baby, so she'll always be the baby. So,
yes.
Right, but my stepson went from being the baby to not being the baby now, so he's more of a middle child. So yeah, it's a lot. So
yeah, those dynamics, man.
Yeah,
they just never stop.
No, it never stops. And like when we made the decision to like move in together and blend our families, it was like I was moving at the time, and so I needed to find the right house. And my girls were like, "We're not sharing a bathroom with a teenage boy, Mom." I was like, "Okay." So I'm like, "All right, we'll get back to this in here." I'm like, "I get it." So
yeah,
we had to make that work.
One demand,
right? Yeah, like, you can have one. That's it.
Yeah. So that's all good. Now, are you working now, or?
I do work. So once my marriage ended, it was time for me to go back to work and keep myself busy and kind of get out of my head. So with COVID came the opportunity to work, and so I jumped in, and now I work at a school, and I enjoy it. And
back to education.
Back to education. This time more with middle schoolers and not college kids, but I still love it. So.
I mean, some of those things are similar.
Yeah, some of them are. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be a little chaotic.
Yeah. I got TikTok on my phone yesterday just to watch a video about middle schoolers. So.
Yes, do that.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious. And TikTok is so, can really suck you in, with like the scrolling and stuff like that. But I mean, I would even recommend that for middle school because we're just coming out of that with our daughters. My son's going in, and I don't know. I think it keeps you tethered to what's going on there.
Oh yeah, I can't even understand half the time what they're talking about, so I almost feel like I have to do that. So I'm like, what words are you saying, and what do those mean now? Because I don't what.
Also, there are TikToks that explain that.
I know.
So to date ourselves.
I know.
But yeah. So the good news is you can figure it out.
Right. I have resources
for that. So that's good. Okay, so now you're in your, I guess, second chapter. I guess if we're
my second
and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Are there things that you, man, you've been on like.
It's been a lot. I mean, from infertility to domestic adoption to international adoption to divorce.
And new family and new dynamics, new job. And even, I mean, you lived in California, you said what, for 26 years?
Yep.
So that was a whole,
actually,
you're really on track 3, I forgot.
Probably.
Because you had that and then you moved here. Yeah, so the great news is, you can always make decisions to change that or adjust what you're going through and, move the trajectory a little bit to what you wanted. Are there things that you want to still do, or are you just kind of enjoying where you're at now? Or
well, right now we're really kind of just enjoying, and we like to travel, so that's something we've been doing a lot more of. So we're actually taking all of the kids to California this summer.
Oh my gosh.
Minus one. So just because he's going to be busy out doing his own job in California, but we'll have all of our kids with us, and their significant others going on vacation. So
that's awesome, and that's a lot of logistics.
It is. It's a lot. I think at the end of it, there's 11 of us going on vacation.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Just with calendars and everything to be able to do that. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, just to have everybody all together, and it's like, and especially with 2 of the kids really being full-fledged adults, it's hard to sometimes connect and see them. So to bring them all together and have these like shared experiences and memories and things like that.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Yeah.
And especially with blended families too, you know, you kind of start that, you know, when people are at a different stage in their life. And so, you know, you want to solidify that with some experiences that are collective and yeah, so that's great. And then, I mean, if they're adults, I mean, you're enjoy this because
I know.
Oh
God. No, we are not old enough to have grandkids. We're hoping that is, but I mean,
yeah, down the road.
Hopefully down the road.
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4, chapter 5, maybe we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anything, you know, for people that are watching that would be curious about adoption? And I know this happened, you know, a while ago, obviously.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
But just, you know, things that don't change with time, like mental state or, you know, where you kind of have to be in your life to take that on. Do you have any, I don't know, I'd say advice, but suggestions or any kind of wisdom?
It is a roller coaster. So you really, I feel like, need to be kind of grounded in where you are to be ready to get on and off this roller coaster as it comes full force.
Yes.
Because there's no way of knowing what's around the next turn or around the next bend. And sometimes you just want to cry and jump off because it's too much. But other times you just have to kind of weather the storm.
Yeah.
So being able to be prepared to kind of go with those ebbs and flows and the unpredictable, because it really, there is no set timetable. There is no guarantee as to what's going to happen. You can be told certain things about your children, either in domestic or international, and those turn out to not be true. So I've had to deal with that too, and that in and of itself is challenging. So
yeah, it's maybe if you're in a really tumultuous part of your own life,
correct,
it might wait till that settles a little bit.
Correct. And I would say, like, even reflecting back, like, I mean, we were just coming out of the infertility journey and jumping right into the adoption journey, and I'm not sure we fully processed that loss, I guess.
There's some grief with that.
Yeah, I don't think that was fully ever processed, even as individuals and much less as a couple. And so that kind of reared its ugly head as things came down, because we never really properly went through the stages of grief with that, which is probably in hindsight would have been a good idea.
Yeah. And so much of what we learn is when we look back.
But it was easier to not think about it and not talk about it and just jump right into the next thing.
Because you're really looking for a solution.
Correct.
You know, if you've been doing that for 6 years and it's like, this isn't working, it's like, what? Now you're on a roll where it's like, well, what is going to work? And we're going to, you know, figure that out until, and that's with this, and that's with most other things in life too. Once you're in it that far, you just want to get a solve. And then just to touch on the point about grieving that or anything else you're going through. And so often, you know, as moms too, we internalize that, and we don't want to put that burden on someone else.
Correct.
And then our spouse or significant other also is grieving, and somehow that there can be a big chasm in between there that just grows because you don't. But it also could be, if you just tried, a way to sort of bond too. So some people figure that out, and then a lot of
some
us
people
don't
figure it out, and some people don't, and we clearly didn't. That definitely went from a small divide to a much bigger divide, and
that happens.
Yeah,
I think more often than you know,
right.
the ability to bond over something difficult.
And we got married fairly young, so it's hard to grow with someone over a long period of time. And go through all of these hurdles along the way. That's just a lot. It's a lot for one relationship to handle. So
yeah, and it is really something to reflect on too, is you know, you're such a different person a decade later, and you can't predict that. So
exactly. It's like what I was at 22 when, you know, I was talking about getting married, to 32 when I had my first kid. It was a very different person. Very different person.
And we live so much longer now too. So it's like, I don't, you know, you want to commit to forever, but you know, maybe there's sometimes a little space to say, like, we didn't know what forever was going to be. So.
You absolutely can't predict that. So
okay, so this was incredible journey.
Roller coaster of a ride.
Well, I learned so much too, just about adoption. I mean, we can piecemeal stories that we hear, but you know, just knowing Katie and like being able to sit down and talk to you and understand that journey amazing. So good for them, good for you.
Yes.
And for your new situation and where you are.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it continues to go well.
Yeah.
I mean, you certainly worked so hard to get here. So.
Well, and he did too. So I think we're both in a good place.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you would like to share with anybody watching this episode of your journey?
My crazy roller coaster. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was very insightful. So
Yay.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thank you for joining us today. Make sure to keep your perspective, but don't be afraid to step into somebody else's like we did with Cathy today and her long, arduous, and rewarding journey of motherhood. Be resilient, continue to show up. This is a great demonstration of that. A 10-year journey of desired motherhood, just to get in there is pretty amazing. And so we can learn from that to keep showing up even when it's difficult. You need it, your kids need it. Clearly the world needs it. So continue to that. Always have a pursuit and stay after that. And while you feel alone, sometimes you are not alone. There is a group of 2 billion of us worldwide, and we are here for you. Thank you.